Hey,
Hello, and welcome SuccessGrid Nation to this episode of the SuccessGrid podcast. In this episode, I have with me special guest. We are going to be talking about how to take risk and transform your life, how to take your story and transform it into something positive and achieve what it is that you are looking to do or achieve. My guest in this episode of the SuccessGrid podcast, his name is Ken Stearns. He's a writer, podcast creator, a host, a lyricist, and a photographer. He is a retired international insurance executive that quit to pursue his dream of traveling and meeting new people and hearing their stories. He is the host of The Jar Life, a unique podcast that focuses on real people and real conversations. Ken, welcome to the show.
Hussein, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome to have you here with us. So, Ken, first of all, because this is called the SuccessGrid podcast, and through your experience, your journeys, traveling, and all that, you're meeting a lot of people on your own podcast, I guess. So, what do you think success is, and what do you see or other definition of success might get right about it or might get wrong about it?
Yeah, I like the there's an old definition of success. I think try to remember, it might be Earl Nightingale or Dale Carnegie, but it's something along the lines of, the progression towards a realization of a worthy goal. So success, by that definition, it's, you're not successful when you get there. You're successful by being in pursuit and, being in pursuit of something worthy to do as a goal. And that, can define success for people. For me, I like it because it's quite simple. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to create something. You're just in the, you're in a progressive state of achieving a worthy goal, something worth doing. And that could be motherhood. It could be a good stay-at-home mom. You could be successful at that because you're doing something very worthy, and you can certainly measure it and see it happen.
Yeah,
and I think people get out. I think success becomes a financial thing or a title thing. It's achievement based a lot, and it's things that a society places sometimes value on, which may be a little bit incongruent with our natural, our what is naturally success, right?
Yeah, a lot of people connect success with monetary things and material things. Yeah, that's a very common idea wherever you go in the world, and that's good, like goal to put yourself, but sometimes you have to put some time into it. It does not like just come on poof right in the second day.
Yeah, I mean, Hussein, you've talked to so many people. I would imagine you, like me, we've seen lots of successful people, very high titles, working for beautiful companies, high positions, earning more money than they can consume, reasonably, and yet they're unhappy. And, so success is definitely not, if success equals not being happy, I think you got to change your definition of success and, find a place where it's going to, ultimately it's going to be coming where you're at a beautiful place with a great relationship with yourself and the people around you. That's a successful life.
Yeah,
right? Is you have, great relationships. It's what we're here for.
exactly.
Yeah. So I've had a fun journey. I kind of joke, I'm a well-seasoned Midwestern kid. Right. And I'm sure in your part of the world, you've got those little spots where where somebody's from, right? From a certain part of the country, a certain part of the town, it means something. And for sure, a Midwestern kid is got those kind of farmland traditional values. And, well-seasoned means I'm old. I've seen some stuff. And, I've been really fortunate. I had a great insurance career. I did something, and I think which is encouraging for people listening. I did something a little crazy when I was younger. I answered an ad to go overseas and pursue a job. And I, for whatever reason, I followed up on that. And before I knew it, I was in Asia. I was in Hong Kong with my family. And I had
Cool.
left California, packed up my bags, put everything I owned in a storage locker, put all our gardening tools and all my car tools and all these weird things that you own, right? And you put your whole life into a storage. It's a really interesting experience. And starting over somewhere else, right? Learning everything new. And, that was an amazing career. And it was a risk taking. And it was definitely, something I would encourage people to do. There was no bad outcome. The bad outcome was me coming back after 2 years with tremendous experience and, maybe plus or minus some money, but an amazing experience. And what would have happened? As it turned out, I stayed 20 years. And I ended up living in 5 countries, working all across Asia for different insurance companies, mostly insurance, a little bit of tech in there. But, there was a point where I was very entrepreneurial. They would send me to different countries and work on different companies. And the job was to turn the business around. And I had been doing that for so many, for so many times, for so many departments and teams and countries and companies. I was getting to the point where it's like, I need to do this. Like, I should do this for myself. When's me time, right?
That's a good idea. Like you are in a place or the experience that you serve so many people.
Yeah.
You grow their businesses. Like, why don't I do this for my own?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it's, and the reason is because I'm paid a stupid amount of money to do this, because these are ongoing businesses and, a small change can mean a big impact. So, they're willing to risk the money or invest in and to see if I can do it. And to do it on yourself or for yourself, you're starting from zero. And I think many of us, we don't know how to get started, how to start. And even, when we start, sometimes it's a little bit herky jerky and we may fail, and stop and go back to what we're doing, call it a fail, but it's really just a learning, you just have another learning experience and you're getting prepared for that next time. And, I was just looking really in my own heart for that chance. And I had a couple of really crazy jobs. And this is also something I think, looking back on my experience, for people to remember. I had jobs that didn't allow for any quiet time, really. And I'm sure there's listeners, you're in that job and the emails are coming and you're preparing for next year, next quarter. You've got something due today, something due next week. You're trying to manage people. It can keep your mind so busy. And that's nice because life goes by and you've got your family and work keeps you kind of, really engaged. But it's also, there's no me time. There's no personal development time. And I do realize that I was giving of myself, but I was not receiving. There was no one there to fill my cup. And it was a statement that a guy made when I was in Indonesia, and it was a crazy job. And this guy had been doing it for 20 years. And, we used to have some real intimate conversations about just life and just about what it's like to be the giver, right? The person doing this. And he looked at me one time and he said, Ken, who fills your cup? Who fills our cup? Because we were lamenting about how we do things for people. And we're in the middle of this giant sales team and this massive, crazy, overarching administrative team on top, and we're in the middle and we're these middle guys. And that stuck with me. That really burned a hole in my head. Nobody fills your cup except you sometimes. And I'm sure so many listeners, there are times when you're the only one who can fill your cup. And you got to get those crazy thoughts out of your head, the bad thoughts. And you got to realize, dude, you are the one who is going to fill your cup. You have to take care of yourself. No one's coming. And I think no one's coming, right?
Yeah. So what you're talking about here is like very important. Like if you are a person on the side that always educates other people, always giving other people, whether your time, which is the most important asset that we have as humans, right? We cannot get back our time back. This is very important. And our experiences, our knowledge to other people. And like you mentioned, our personal and own growth. And if we are like not having this time to learn from other people that has that
Yeah, yeah,
than other experiences that we might
yes.
learn from. This is huge to have this kind of mindset or mentality that you can, like as you mentioned, fill your own cup and
Yeah,
keep going. I have this hunger to do whatever it is that you do.
yeah, to find what that is. And shortly after those conversations, I ended up with they moved me to another company, another country. And that job was 30% of the previous job.
Mm.
So immediately I was looking for stuff to do for myself. And it's kind of crazy. It's not what I bought or what I did personally. I think it's more the lesson for people to take away, which is I decided I needed to do something. And this crazy idea came in my head. I want to play guitar. I've tried to play guitar twice in my life. I've owned 2 guitars. I don't own those anymore. Those guitars are gone somewhere. But I decided I want to play guitar. So I went to the store to buy a guitar. And my internal dialogue was 2 things. I'll take lessons for 2 years and I won't quit for 2 years. And I'll make a judgment at the end of the 2 years if this is what I'm supposed to do. Why is this still in my head? I'm 52 years old and I'm still thinking I should play guitar. I got to kill this idea, but I'm going to give it its justice. And a funny thing happens when you do commit, like in the universal language, right, of this energy that you put out there, which is I'm this person, I'm doing this thing, I'm going to find a teacher, I'm going to try this for 2 years. I told my daughter, I went to the guitar store, I'm intentional. And man, after that, the universe just pointed me in the right direction after that. I met a guy in the guitar shop, beautiful words. I was asking him advice, which guitar to get. Buy the red one. He was like an angel. I'm not really sure that guy actually existed. When I look back, it's almost like it's someone who was put there for me to see, and only I could see him. And he was only there he was there that day. He was walking around playing guitars. He wasn't there for that. I was supposed to meet him and I was supposed to say something to him. And I mean, I thoroughly believe it. Sounds kind of crazy, but it's real. So he looked at me and he goes, I asked him, this is who I am. What advice do you have for buying a guitar? Buy the red one. What does that mean?
Guitar, a red one, it's very distinguished, I guess. So,
and he didn't mean the color.
Yeah.
He meant the red one you see. So and then he said, the one you see across the crowded room, the one you want to hold, the one you don't want to let go. And I immediately knew which guitar. Like I was like, that was it. I was done. I was like, thank you very much. Turned around, went out, grabbed my guitar on the wall and walked out and bought it.
Like some kind of gut feeling. Yeah.
Gut feeling, right? He knew, I mean, it's very strange, the words he said to me. But if I look back prophetically now about this advice for life, for anybody listening, you would buy the red one. That's the one you buy, the one you can't take your eyes off of, the one, even in a crowded room, you still see it, right? And that kind of turning point led me to meet a guitar teacher. My commitment, right, to the universe and my commitment to myself and just putting it out there, planting the flag and saying, I'm going to do it. I met the guitar teacher. That guitar teacher got me back to writing a book. The book led me to the idea of the podcast. And the podcast put me, on this road, this journey back home, out of Asia. I came back last January, bought a van. And on April, I started a journey to 111 cities, interviewing 444 people. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. And and I'm doing it in people's homes. So I'm driving around the country in a van, rolling up to people's houses, get out, get my jar full of questions and come into their house and we record a session. And it's unique because Hussein, the questions are really, there's only 12 topics.
Mm.
Your yesterdays, your todays, and your tomorrows, kind of that battlefield of your mind. Acceptance, forgiveness, compassion, something between you and another person, a human skill set. The next part is love, karma, and service. So have a loving heart, treat people like you want to be treated, and go out to the world with a service mind, a service heart. And then faith, hope, and prayer. And so these are just 12 chapters from my book. And I use those to create the 444 questions.
Mm.
And I took all my money and I have put it all on, I put it all on the table and I bet on Ken, I bet on Ken, not on the house. I bet on myself. And, like I said, and it's been an interesting journey, and from it, I've met so many incredible people, heard amazing stories of overcoming life and just the things that people go through, and giving a chance to become I'm a story collector now, or a story hunt. I don't know if I'm a story collector or a story hunter.
That's a great description or a title, because a lot, like as humans, even when we are kids, since we are kids, a lot of us like to hear certain stories, I guess, from our elderlies, like grandmother or grandfather.
Yes.
And as we grow up, we sometimes don't see it, but we do want to hear a story, right? Whether it's a bad ending or a good ending. So we want to hear a story. So what do you think one of the things or the stories that really had an impact on you, that happened to you personally, or a story that you have heard and had an impact on you personally?
Yeah, it's been, early on, I have to say, Hussein, and maybe for you too, some of the early stories really stuck with me. And, some of the ones and of course, ones along the way. I've heard a lot of stories of trauma. And I think once you get past the fact that people experience a lot of trauma growing up, and, you don't realize the person next to you in the grocery store, in the bank, at the gas station, we never know what people have gone through. You never know what they're going through at the moment. I think that's one of the biggest things to take away is how much people that we interact with daily are really struggling. I think one of just so many inspirational stories, along the way, and I think it's difficult for me to call out one story, and to say this is a lesson I've learned. But I think the way I'd answer it is the ability of humanity, the strength of humanity is probably the most inspiring thing that I've seen. That people overcome the most shocking childhoods that you could imagine. And they roll all of that up. Not everybody, but the people that I've interviewed, they roll all of that up into a backpack of life experience, and they strap it on and they own it. The craziest thing is nobody wants to change their life, Hussein. I don't, sometimes I don't understand it, right?
This is like, it's our mind. I think this is the comfort zone, what's called the comfort zone. And because we know if we are going to do things that we have not done before, it's going to take a lot of our energy, our time, maybe our money. So we don't want to risk things. We want to stay in a place of safety, which is sometimes this place of safety that I have discovered, it might be good and it might not be good. So it depends on things.
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting part. People won't even change things that happen to them if they had the power. So listeners to the podcast wanting to change and wanting to break away from corporate, or to do something, if maybe they're younger and they want to, they're starting to plan what they want to do with their career. I think, look, change is the biggest impact to my career, the keys to success for me were change and risk taking. Willing to change careers, willing to change directions, not stupidly, not without thought. Definitely, I was always very intentional. But when it came to making the risk, I made the decision to do stuff, and I think that's one of my lucky kind of gifts is decision making and risk taking, and then being able to, you're always going to land on your feet. This is the funny thing, right? I mean, so anybody considering doing something, do it. Of course, plan it out and plan for, some contingencies. But when you make the decision, don't have a plan B. There is no plan B. Just go. You'll figure it out.
This is very strong statement, because a lot of things, especially like, for example, you are an adult, you have some certain things that a lot of people that wanna, let's say, take the basic necessities for their lives, like the food and the rent or these kind of things. So like, do you think that these fears are justifiable, or like, as you mentioned, it is something that someday, whether it's a close day or like near in the future, they will have figure things out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there is some practicalities to life, Hussein, right? I mean, you need to, like I said, you have to be intentional and you have to think about it. So if you're going to do something, you do some financial analysis. When will the money run out, right? If the worst case happens, you have a worst case scenario. The money runs out in 6 months. And, will you know that at month 4? And maybe at month 4, you have to make plans. That's part of your plan. That's part of the plan. It's not really the plan B. Plan B is to go, quit everything and go back to doing whatever you were doing, or go do something else. What I mean by plan B is don't have a back door you can jump out, because you'll never commit. You'll never commit to what you're going to do if you have a plan B that's like there. I didn't have a plan. I don't have a plan B. I mean, I had no plan. My plan B was whatever came up in front of me. I would react. And the mental health today was my, not even a plan B. It's just an add-on. So, yeah, I think it's risky. You have to think through. You have to plan what you're going to do, make the best plans, have those kind of adjustments, right? You don't quit, you adjust your kind of direction. You get momentum going and then you change, right?
So I guess we have to be our own leader. Like, we have to develop our own leadership skills, I guess, because as we know, as a leader, not only takes the, let's say, employees or whoever he's leading to the whole. He's the first one to discover the whole, I guess. So, so yeah, we have to be a leader for our own good, I think, right? Does this be a good description for things, maybe?
Yeah, it is. It is self-leadership. And, it's good to have people to talk to as well. It's an interesting transition. One of the things that I probably missed was that mentorship, right? And making sure that you've got someone to talk to, more than one person. You always want to be checking your ideas so you can be your own leader. You ultimately have to make the decisions. I mean, it's a very uncomfortable place for some people. And, for some people, they're not, it's not in their DNA to do this, to be on your own. And there's sometimes when you're truly, literally on your, I am on my own sometimes, like terribly on my own, and waiting for people to come back to you for something with work or something. And it's a lonely, your head could really mess you up if you're not in a good place, right? It'd be very difficult. So you want to be in a good place mentally, emotionally. You need to have some decent finances to invest, to hold while you do it, or you start in, you started, come home at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and you worked till midnight on your job. I mean, I wrote my whole book at night. I wrote the whole book at night over a couple of years. So, anything's, you can do it if you sit down and just put in a couple hours a day and invest in yourself. I think, Hussein, the biggest thing I can say for people listening that want to get into it is be intentional, right? I mean, think about what you're going to do and start to think hard and deep. I had 6 whiteboards drilled up on my hallway for 2 years outside my bedroom, between my bedrooms and my kitchen.
Wow.
So you imagine that's like about, it's about 15, it's not quite 15, it's about 15 feet of whiteboard. And it would just spend every day, every morning with a cup of coffee, with an old sock in one hand, to wipe it off, and to write. And, you plan and you think and you talk and you call people up and you share your ideas. And eventually it just becomes a natural thing you're going to do. It becomes it's natural and it's expected. It's part of, even the universe is pushing you, it's time, it's ready, and you'll feel it.
Yeah. Like, and I mentioned, it's time, like you work in your book late at night. So like we have 24 hours in a day, but we choose sometimes not to actually work certain hours. We choose to rest and maybe watch TV and maybe keep postponing things until, I don't know, maybe it's too late, I guess. So hopefully it's not too late for the people who want to do whatever that they are dreaming of doing. And instead of dreaming, like, start doing, to not regret.
Start doing it.
Yeah. So do you have regrets yourself?
No regrets. And I think to your real quick on your, is it too late? Look, I was 52 and I picked up guitar. I wrote songs. I actually got I published my own songs. So I never thought when I was 50, I didn't think I would have music on iTunes. Right? I didn't think that was never going to happen. And it wasn't even in the realm of my thoughts. So we have no idea when you do something, like you walk into a guitar store and you ask somebody, which guitar should I get? 2 years later, you're going to be on iTunes. Be careful what you do. You could be an artist. You walk into a studio to go get your first set of acrylics.
Yeah.
And you're going to be showing your stuff on Instagram in 6 months and asking people to buy it. And the most amazing things can happen if when you start and you just commit and you tell the world you're doing it. And the power of self-proclamation. It's an amazing, and people will look at you. A third of the people are going to say, "I'll stop that by tomorrow." That'll be done on Saturday. 1/3 of the people will be like, "Hussein, you can do it. That's great. I'm proud of you." And 1/3 of the people will be watching to see what you do.
Yeah, definitely.
And and you'll have 2/3 of the people cheering you on as soon as you start showing your little vulnerable, show your stuff. I put my music up on iTunes because I sucked so bad that I thought, I really have to document this. I need to put this on just for my own humility. And no one ever said my songs, the songs are nice. The words are beautiful. And the guitar is lovely. I'm not playing it, but my voice is so terrible. But it's my song. It's my music. And for me, it's amazing. And I just love the fact that I'm confident enough in my badness to be able to publish it and not care.
Like, it's amazing. Like, a lot of people think sometimes success comes in one night, and because a lot of people share their successes, but not a lot of people, and very, very few share their failures. These failures along the way that made them reach success, right? So that's very important, and like personal, and some kind of empathy around what you do and what you have and what you are passionate about, to share things along your journey. I think,
Ye-
yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, I think look, we have to be funny with ourselves too, Hussein, right? We have to, you got to make funny of yourself sometimes,
Mm.
the good and the bad. I think it's difficult to always prop yourself up. Negative words have an impact though. To make fun of yourself in a good way is okay. But even my own self, being careful with the words that I choose, because words words have got power.
Mm.
There's an experiment just on the words on power that a Japanese man did, where he had his students shout terrible words at a jar of water, angry, terrible, negative words, and another jar, happy, beautiful words, encouragement. And when you froze the water, as it froze, the one with the terrible words had these very disorientated snowflakes. When they froze, they went into these really unequal patterns.
Mm.
But the words, the jar of water with the beautiful words spoken to it had beautiful snowflake patterns. This is a famous Japanese experiment.
Really?
And so it proves that water holds a memory.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because a memory is there, right? This angry words, and the words have a power, and there's a vibration to that. And the beautiful words have a vibration. So, as we talk to ourselves, you have to be careful about what you say. Talk to your children. You have to be encouraging and beautiful words, because you leave a mark at a cellular level.
Yeah.
And so even I think that's why we talk about thoughts. And, if words can do that, certainly thoughts have got that potential. So always be careful what you say. Power in the words, man. Look it up. I don't remember that guy's name, but it's a Japanese water experiment.
Yeah.
Maybe Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing example of things, because we have to kind of sometimes filter what we are about to say and pause.
Yes.
It's like understanding is like 2/3 is listening and 1/3 is talking, I guess. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's even more listening than 2/3. So you have always to listen and absorb and then speak, filter it twice and speak. So that's very important, I guess, because sometimes negative words come out without even realizing that it is negative words.
Yeah. I even said my guitar sucks, or my singing's terrible, right? And that's just I'm just affirming something. But actually, sometimes my voice getting better, I think. So even catch myself.
Well,
and I'm conscious of what I say.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Ken, where can people? It's a lovely conversation. Where can people get in touch with you, learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, it's thejar.live. Hussein is the best place to go. So just www.thejar.live. It's got a little backstory for me. It's got a live map where I'm at, where the van is and where we're going. You can see the cities that we're headed to. And then the Facebook, all the links are there to go to find everything about what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ken. This was like a very joyful episode of the SuccessGrid podcast, a new perspective into life itself. So amazing. Thank you very much for being here today with me in this episode.
Hussein, thank you for having me as a guest. Thank you very much.